Welcome to my channel.
Are you a fan of horror stories? Do you enjoy tales of suspense, mystery, and the unknown? If so, then you're in for a treat. In this story, we follow the journey of a young man named Lucas, who encounters a mysterious and terrifying boy while wandering in the woods. Lucas becomes obsessed with uncovering the truth behind the boy's ghostly appearance, and what he discovers will leave you on the edge of your seat. Join us on this spine-tingling adventure as we unravel the chilling mystery of the scary boy. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Okay, let's begin.
Once upon a time, in a small town nestled in the heart of the countryside, there was a boy. His name was Lucas, and he was a strange and solitary child. With his dark hair, piercing blue eyes, and pale complexion, he looked like a character straight out of a horror movie. There was something eerie about him, something that made people uneasy whenever they were around him. Lucas lived with his parents in an old, dilapidated house on the outskirts of town. It was a spooky place, with creaky floorboards and drafty windows that rattled in the wind. The neighbors whispered that the house was cursed, that strange things happened there, that it was haunted by ghosts and demons. Lucas was a loner, and he didn't have any friends. He spent most of his time reading books about the supernatural, playing with his pet snake, and exploring the woods behind his house. The woods were his favorite place in the world, and he knew them like the back of his hand. He could spend hours wandering around, lost in his thoughts, listening to the rustling leaves and the chirping birds. But there was something unsettling about the woods, something that gave Lucas the creeps. He often felt like he was being watched, like there was something hiding in the shadows waiting for him to let his guard down. He tried to ignore the feeling, but it only grew stronger as time went by. One day, as Lucas was walking through the woods, he stumbled upon an old abandoned cabin. It was a ramshackle building, with a crooked roof and broken windows. It looked like it hadn't been inhabited in years. But there was something about the cabin that drew Lucas in, something that made him feel like he had to explore it. He pushed the door open, and the first thing he noticed was the smell. It was a sickly, sweet smell, like rotting fruit and mold. He wrinkled his nose and stepped inside, his heart pounding in his chest. The cabin was empty except for a few old pieces of furniture covered in dust and cobwebs. But there was something else in the room, something that made Lucas shiver. He couldn't see anything, but he could feel a presence in the room, something that was watching him. He tried to shake it off, to convince himself that it was just his imagination, but he couldn't. The feeling only grew stronger, until he was paralyzed with fear. Suddenly, he heard a sound, a faint rustling coming from the corner of the room. He turned around, and there it was, a figure lurking in the shadows, watching him with gleaming eyes. It was a boy, but he was unlike any boy Lucas had ever seen before. He was tall and thin, with skin as white as snow and hair as black as coal. He was dressed in tattered clothes, and his hands were covered in dirt and blood. His eyes were the most terrifying thing about him, piercing blue orbs that seemed to glow in the darkness. Lucas tried to back away, but the boy stepped forward, his eyes never leaving Lucas's face. He had a smile on his lips, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was a smile that promised pain and suffering. "Who are you?" Lucas asked, his voice shaking with fear. The boy didn't answer. He just stood there, staring at Lucas with those cold blue eyes. Lucas tried to run, but he couldn't move. It was like he was frozen in place, trapped in the boy's gaze. The boy took a step closer, and Lucas could see now that his teeth were sharp and jagged, like a wild animal's. He was a monster, Lucas realized. Lucas stood frozen in place as the strange boy advanced toward him. The musty smell of the old cabin filled his nostrils as his heart raced in his chest. He knew he needed to get out of there, but his legs felt like they were made of lead. The boy continued to stare at him with those piercing blue eyes. Lucas could feel himself getting lost in them, as if he were falling into a bottomless pit. His mind raced with thoughts of danger and the unknown. Just then, the boy spoke in a low, haunting voice. "What are you doing here?" Lucas tried to answer, but his voice was barely above a whisper. I was just exploring. I didn't mean to intrude." The boy tilted his head as if he were considering Lucas's words. Then, he took another step forward. Lucas's heart pounded even harder. He knew he needed to get out of there before it was too late. He tried to move his feet, but they wouldn't budge. The boy's face twisted into a sinister grin. "You shouldn't have come here." "This is my home now." Lucas's stomach dropped as he realized that he was trapped. He was alone with this strange, terrifying boy, and he had no way out. The boy reached out a dirty, blood-stained hand and touched Lucas's cheek. Lucas recoiled, but he couldn't escape the boy's grip. "You're scared," the boy whispered, "but you don't have to be. I can make it all go away." Lucas didn't know what the boy meant, but he knew it couldn't be good. He closed his eyes and tried to focus on something else, anything else, but the boy's grip only tightened. Suddenly, there was a loud banging on the door. The boy's grip loosened, and Lucas stumbled backward, gasping for breath. The banging continued, and Lucas could hear a voice shouting from outside. "Lucas, are you in there? Open up!" It was his father. Lucas felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had never been so happy to hear his father's voice. The boy looked at the door, then back at Lucas. "You got lucky this time," he hissed, "but I'll be waiting for you. I always am." Lucas shuddered as the boy disappeared into the shadows. He knew that he had escaped something terrible, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he would never be truly safe again. When Lucas opened the door, his father rushed in, concern etched on his face. "Are you all right?" he asked. Lucas nodded, unable to speak. He knew he couldn't tell his father what had happened. He didn't want to sound crazy. Despite his fear, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to know more about the boy he had encountered in the woods. He started doing research online, searching for any information about the area and its history. After weeks of digging, he finally found an old newspaper article from the 1950s. It was a story about a young boy who had disappeared while playing in the woods. His name was Billy, and he had been missing for months before his body was found in an abandoned cabin. Lucas's heart sank as he read the article. It described the boy as having piercing blue eyes and a sinister grin, just like the one Lucas had seen in the woods. He knew then that the boy he had encountered was Billy's ghost, still trapped in the woods and unable to find peace. Lucas couldn't stop thinking about the boy, wondering what had happened to him and why he was still haunting the woods after all these years. One night, unable to resist his curiosity any longer, Lucas decided to venture back into the woods. He walked for what felt like hours, his heart pounding in his chest until he finally came across the abandoned cabin where Billy's body had been found. The cabin was dark and musty, and the floorboards creaked beneath his feet as he made his way inside. He shone his flashlight around, illuminating the cobweb-covered walls and the rusted old tools scattered around the room. Suddenly, he heard a sound from upstairs. It was a faint, ghostly moaning that seemed to be coming from the room at the top of the stairs. Lucas swallowed hard and started to climb, his flashlight shaking in his hand. As he reached the top of the stairs, the moaning grew louder. Lucas could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he pushed open the door to the room. Inside, he saw the ghostly figure of a young boy lying on the bed. It was Billy, his eyes fixed on Lucas with a look of terror and desperation. "I've been trapped here for so long," Billy whispered. "I can't leave until someone solves the mystery of my death." Lucas felt a surge of determination as he listened to Billy's words. He knew that he needed to find out what had happened to the boy and bring his killer to justice. Over the next few weeks, Lucas worked tirelessly to unravel the mystery of Billy's death. He talked to locals, combed through old police reports, and even hired a private investigator to help him. In the end, he discovered that Billy had been murdered by his own father, who had been abusing him for years. The killer had been dead for decades, but Lucas still felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that he had uncovered the truth. And after his investigation was complete, the ghostly figure of Billy disappeared from the abandoned cabin. Lucas never saw him again. But he never forgot the terrifying boy he had encountered in the woods, or the mystery he had solved. From that day forward, Lucas felt a newfound sense of bravery and determination, knowing that he had faced his fears and come out victorious. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the chilling and mysterious world of the scary boy. We hope this story has left you feeling both thrilled and spooked, and that it has reminded you of the power of bravery and determination in the face of the unknown. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales of horror, suspense, and the supernatural. And remember, the next time you find yourself wandering in the woods, keep your eyes peeled and your wits about you. You never know what kind of ghostly encounter might be waiting just around the corner. Before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel.